Hello, Dr. Williams. I hope you're doing well. I've been enjoying the class, and thank you for spending so much time and care with all of us students. I know you have a heart for all of us to learn more and grow more, and I appreciate that. This video, of course, is supposed to be about conflict, and I remember in the reading there were three types of conflict. The first type that was mentioned is intrapersonal, which when a person is dealing with the conflict inside themselves. I know there's many times where I've had to make the decision, or I've had the conflict of knowing that my decision will make me either popular or unpopular. And the question sometimes is, do I need to make this decision so that I'll be loved, or am I going to make this decision because I'm going to be hated? And that's sometimes a conflict that happens within all of us leaders. And then another conflict that was mentioned was interpersonal, and it deals with conflict with other people. Where we'll have different types of personalities that'll bring conflict. I know I have an outgoing personality, and sometimes I scare people who are kind of quiet or are kind of shy, and sometimes that can get in the way of making decisions and making things a little more difficult. Also, it was mentioned that there's substantive conflict, and that means that there's conflict within the goals or the facts or the details. Like, let's say a church board has a certain amount of money. Do we spend the money on the roof, or do we spend the money on a salary? It's those kind of conflicts are always going to come up, and churches are going to have to work through them, especially the Christian leaders. The question was asked: can conflict be good, or can conflict be positive? And it seems kind of weird, but I really believe it can be. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to be if we're handling conflict in a healthy way. I think first of all, if there is no conflict, then what it's telling us then is that a lot of things are being buried under the sand, and we're not dealing with some issues. And whether you want to believe it or not, you don't have conflict in that moment. Things are going to fester. You're going to end up having conflict anyways. So you might as well, as leaders, pull up your sleeves and lovingly deal with the conflict that is facing you. Last year, I was it came to my knowledge that 7 out of 9 of my leaders, which that includes my board and my staff, were not tithing. And in our bylaws, it clearly states that people who are making decisions about the church, especially the finances, should be tithing. And I prayed over this for a month before I brought it before the two groups. I have one separate meeting for my council and then another separate meeting for my staff. And I wrote out the issue that I had and the thing I was concerned with, and that's the fact that they weren't tithing. Everyone was giving, but it was clear that there was people were falling short of the tithe. And I got to say, in the council, it was a rough meeting. There was weeping. People were mad at me. It took it took a lot of time to heal, and I lost a treasurer over the whole situation. Not right away, but after about 5 or 6 months later, my treasurer ended up leaving. And I should say she wasn't tithing either. Um, and then I confronted my staff over it. That's like my worship leader, my children's director, youth director, um, associate pastor, and some of them were tithing, but not all of them. And it was a totally different experience. They thanked me for confronting them in a loving way, and said they do better. And I had these. It was really weird. And I read the exact same um, letter to each group, and I had two different reactions. And I should also say that not everybody on the council was upset. There were those who were on the council who also said they appreciated that I came true to them. And it was really, I mean, there's a lot more complicated things I could talk about, but I won't spend time with that. But I would like to say this. It took us some time from investigating, and because part of this conflict, as a matter of fact, um, not only were some of the council members upset with me, but their spouses were too, of course, because they're tied in with tithing or not tithing when it comes to finances in the household. And I had one lady who's on the council. Her husband was highly upset with me, and he wrote some things, and him and I got to discuss some things, and we got to deal with some of his theology on what it means to um, give and what it means to tithe, and he's tithing to this day now, and has thanked me for that also. And you know, these the people that weren't tithing would have been stuck in that same mode if I hadn't brought it up. And I talked to about 9 or 10 of my um, people that I look up to, and just ask questions, and only one of them said I shouldn't confront the council. Now they all had different ways in how I should confront them. So what I kind of did was I kind of met somewhere in the middle from all the discussions I was getting from them, and then this past year I I did a 90-day test, and I preached about what the difference between a tithe and an offering, and we we had 5 new families enter into tithing. As a matter of fact, this year has been our best year financially, and we just voted. I'm so proud of my church. We just voted a couple Sundays ago to give a church some money that's hurting, that has helped us in the past, to give them some money, and also some money to the 2 congregations um, here in Decatur. And we've only been able to do that, I think, if I had not talked about tithing with my leadership, and also talked about tithing with the congregation. I've been a senior pastor now since 2010, and I never really preached a sermon on it. Didn't feel like I had to, but I began to see that it needed to be said. And it's been it's been an interesting experience, and I think it shows that conflict can be positive. It doesn't have to be negative. Of course, it hurts for a moment, and especially when people are challenged, it does hurt. But you have to work through that stuff, because if you don't, then you will always remain the same, and you'll never grow. And that's part of the growth process. Well, I hope this video is okay. I'm looking forward to finishing well with this class, and I just love you so much, Dr. Williams, and pray for continued blessings upon you, your family, and your church. God bless, and I'll see you in the classroom.